Let me tell you about a city. A city built not on stone, but on words. You see, it was born in the muck and mire of Bankside, where a jester and a wizard stumbled upon this simple wooden O, a theater. And in it, they found a power to literally shape reality itself. This is their story, the story of their rise and the tragic tale of a kingdom that was always destined to be consumed by the very language that created it.
So to really get this, we've got to start by looking at two very old, very different paths to power. On one side, you've got the classic myth of the shepherd's ring. It gives you the power of invisibility, right? The ability to do whatever you want without consequence, because nobody can see you. But on the other side, you have the jester stage. And this is a much more sinister kind of power. It's not about being unseen, it's about controlling everything that is seen. Both of them, though, are really just ways to get around the king's order, the basic rules of virtue and being held accountable for your actions.
I mean, think about it. The shepherd, he used his ring to murder his way straight to the throne. The jester and his wizard, they used their stage, this wooden O, to weave these huge, elaborate illusions. Why? So they could escape the burden of actually being good, of being virtuous. They figured if they could just control appearances, they could control reality itself. And more importantly, they could dodge the consequences of everything they did.
And look, this wasn't just some simple sleight of hand. The whole foundation of their power was this thing called ignis fatuus, which literally means fool's fire. This was a massive alchemical illusion, like a shimmering veil the wizard cast over the whole city. It was designed to hide the ugly truth of their rule and turn the entire state into a kind of laboratory for social engineering, a place they called the stage of counterfeits.
Okay, so that brings us to Act 1, and it all kicks off with the jester's first and most important weapon, his voice. This is how he earns the nickname the Prince of Two Tongues. He's a master at taking the grubby whispers of a common thief and translating them into the grand decrees of a king. Language is his sword, his shield, his everything.
What's so wild is how he starts out. It's not with threats or commands. It's with something called weaponized prose. Imagine a wild river of speech. It's earthy, it's salty, it sounds like it comes from the streets. It's all designed to feel real, to disarm people, make them lower their guard, and pull them into what's basically a web of false intimacy.
And you have to understand, this wasn't random. Oh no, it was a calculated three-step playbook. First, he gives them the scent of the gutter. He uses informal words like thou and thee to sound like he's one of them, one of the people. Then comes the catechism, where he starts picking apart their deepest values, like honor. And finally, once that intimacy is built, he hits them with the razor's edge, turning his jokes into sharp, jagged weapons.
And here's exactly how he breaks them down. He calls it the catechism of the scutcheon. He gets up there and tells the crowd that honor is just a mere word, that it's nothing more than a pretty shield you'd use as a prop at a funeral. He mocks all their ideals until the only thing left is the raw, physical reality of their own pain. And by doing that, he makes their deepest beliefs feel like cheap, disposable political assets. He leaves them totally empty, totally vulnerable to his control.
But then, everything changes. The moment the jester gets real power, that folksy, friendly charm, it just vanishes. Completely. He throws away his old voice and picks up something way, way more terrifying. A new, inescapable form of control. Welcome to the second act of this tragedy.
The pivot is just bam, it's instant and absolute. He stops talking in that wild river of prose and adopts this rigid, structured, commanding voice. And this isn't just him changing his style. This is a fundamental shift in his entire strategy. He's moving from seduction to straight-up psychic compulsion. This new voice, he calls it the verse of command. It's written in a disciplined iambic pentameter, a very specific structured rhythm that works like structured music. But this isn't music for you to enjoy. It's described as a psychic harness that literally locks onto the minds of the audience. It's supposed to signal a return to a divine order, but it's a fake, destructive order that forces them to obey, even as it grinds them into dust.
I mean, the difference is just night and day. The weaponized prose was like a subtle trap that people walked right into because it felt so intimate and disarming. The verse of command, on the other hand, is a harness. It's a rigid cage that slams down from above, locking everyone into place with its divine, commanding rhythm. One's a whisper in your ear, the other is a decree from on high.
And the human cost of this verse of command,
It's catastrophic. The people become hollowed-out puppets, just stuck in this state of unproductive stagnation. Under its spell, they start to see their own neighbors as demons. The theater, the whole state, literally becomes a thresher, a machine where people applaud the jester's every word with so much crazy fervor that their own bones start to snap. It's the complete and total death of reason.
But you know how it is. No illusion, no counterfeit stage, no lie can last forever. Sooner or later, it has to face reality. And for this theater state, reality doesn't knock. It arrives with a single, heavy, metallic sound.
And when it falls fast. It all starts when the great clock of the state strikes. But it's not a chime, it's a heavy metallic clink of duty. That one sound of inescapable truth is all it takes to shatter the whole illusion. The mercury-soaked foundations of the city, the very chemical holding the magic together, ignite. The entire theater is engulfed in a crown of flame, which perfectly sets the stage for the jester's final, terrible punchline.
So here we are, in the last, burning moments. As the stage of counterfeits turns to nothing but ash, the true nature and the absolutely devastating conclusion of the jester's power is finally revealed.
His final words, they aren't a plea for help or a cry of desperation. As he holds the wizard, the architect of his whole world, trapped in the burning timbers, he delivers one last, rattling joke. The show must go on. And that right there proves the whole point. His real power was never in a crown or on a throne. It was always in the word. It was always in the performance.
So in the end, that linguistic fire he started, it didn't spare anyone. The very power that was breathed out through the mouth turned back on its creator, and it consumed both the manipulator and the manipulated. All that was left of this great theater state was a charred circle on the ground, and maybe a ghostly tittering still haunting the ruins.
And that just leaves us with this one chilling question to think about. In a world shaped by stories and by performance, where the lines between what's real and what's an illusion are deliberately blurred, who is actually in control? When a stage is built entirely out of words, who really holds the pen that writes the final, devastating act?